Imagine being handed the keys to the kingdom, and the entire audience throws them right back in your face. That's not a hypothetical, that's Roman Reigns, because for years, one of the most gifted athletes in WWE history walked into arenas full of 80,000 people and got booed out of the building, not because he was bad, but because the company wouldn't stop forcing him on us. And yet, here's what makes this story different from every other rise and fall tale in wrestling history. Roman didn't just survive it. He came back and rewrote the entire rulebook, and this is that full story: the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of Roman Reigns. Let's go back to November 2012, when three men in SWAT gear jumped through the crowd and demolished everyone in their path with no explanation, no promo, just chaos. That was The Shield, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and a 27-year-old Samoan powerhouse named Roman Reigns. And Roman was perfect in that role because he barely spoke. He barely needed to, because every time he stepped forward, speared someone into oblivion, or locked eyes with the camera, the crowd responded. And he had that thing, that it factor, the kind you can't teach, can't manufacture, you either have it or you don't. The Shield ran roughshod over WWE for nearly 2 years, and slowly the machine started pointing its finger at Roman because Vince McMahon had found his next guy, his next John Cena, his next face of the company. And by 2015, Roman was in the main event of WrestleMania 31 with the story, the look, and the bloodline. On paper, absolutely perfect, but here's where it gets painful. Not for Roman, but for everyone watching, because the crowd didn't buy it. Not because Roman was talentless, not because he couldn't wrestle, but because WWE made a critical mistake. They told us how to feel instead of letting us get there ourselves. And every week Roman was positioned as the underdog hero fighting against authority. But Roman Reigns, 6 feet 3 inches, 265 pounds, built like an actual Greek god, doesn't look like an underdog, and the audience saw right through it. The boos started quietly, then they got louder, and by the time Roman won the WWE title at WrestleMania 32 in front of 100,000 fans in Dallas, one of the biggest crowds in wrestling history, the reaction was brutal because people weren't just disappointed, they were hostile. And yet WWE kept pushing, kept booking him in the same spot, kept having announcers sell him like he was the most beloved man alive, while live crowds chanted, "We want Rollins," until something happened that nobody was prepared for. Because in 2018, Roman Reigns stood in the middle of the ring with no dramatic music, no theatrics, and announced that his leukemia had returned. And the crowd that had booed him for years fell completely silent, because in an instant, Roman wasn't a character anymore. He was a human being, a father, a man fighting for his life. And just like that, the story changed forever. Roman returned in 2020, and if you expected the same babyface, smiley, "I'm gonna fight for you," Roman Reigns, you were in for the shock of your life, because he walked out with Paul Heyman at his side, turned his back on his own family, declared himself the tribal chief, the head of the table. And for the first time in Roman's entire career, the character matched the performer, because this wasn't the guy WWE built in a lab. This was Roman Reigns unleashed. The promos got vicious, the storytelling got layered, the family dynamic with the Usos, with Sami Zayn, with Jey Uso, became some of the best long-term booking WWE had done in 2 decades. And people weren't just watching Roman's matches, they were invested in every single word he said, as he held the WWE Universal Championship for over 1,300 days. And let that number hit you, because in an era of hot potato title changes and oversaturated main events, Roman Reigns held on for 3.5 years, and every week felt like a new chapter in a story you couldn't put down. The moment that confirmed everything was WrestleMania 39, when Sami Zayn, the underdog everyone had rallied behind, faced Roman in a match the crowd desperately wanted Sami to win. And Roman, as the villain, controlled every single second, making you hate him, respect him, and never look away. And that's the superstar Roman Reigns was always meant to be. Because Roman's story isn't just a wrestling story. It's a story about identity, about what happens when the world tries to tell you who you are and you finally stop listening. Because for years, WWE forced a version of Roman that nobody asked for. And Roman, to his credit, kept showing up, kept grinding, kept building. And when the opportunity finally came to be himself, a proud, dominant, calculating Samoan patriarch, he didn't just grab it, he ran with it further than anyone imagined. So the rise was electric, the fall was painful, but the rebirth was legendary. And the story isn't over. Not even close.